So what are your predictions having followed this trial as far as you have? Like what are your big takeaways so far from it? I mean, obviously the fact that you've noticed all this trauma bonding talk and that you
Yeah.
now see the evidence behind it, but like what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, listen, I know I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really understand the legal system.
Mm,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me, there's obviously examples of sex trafficking. The RICO is very obvious to me in the way just he controlled this whole entire exploitative organization that coerced and forced people and got violent with people.
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, the court is a crazy place and you have to be able to prove it.
Right. And I mean, in your line of work, are you starting to feel like this trauma bonding conversation is something that people are really understanding? And like you said earlier, it's not just made up, there's a science behind it, that people are really identifying with it, which it seems like a lot of people in the last few years really are taking that seriously. They're taking their mental health seriously. They're taking relationships seriously and what it means with love bombing and really trying
Yes.
to put yourself first. There's so many things that go into that I feel like a lot of people are now starting to understand. But in the court of law, do you think that it'll be important enough for people to take into consideration?
Well, the good news is that coercive control was criminalized in Great Britain, right? So it's criminalized. Now, also in the United States, it's recognized in 8 states, coercive control in family court,
Oh, wow.
right? Yeah, so this is big movement for us.
But how hard is it to prove?
I mean, it's not really that hard to prove once you
Okay.
document everything, right? So I see a big movement with coercive control because again, it is a part of domestic violence. And domestic violence doesn't just happen with getting hit. And like I said,
Right.
it's systemic entrapment where you are pressuring, forcing, demanding that the person do as you say. You're taking away this person's free will. And
Right.
nobody should get to do that to another human being. So I think there is a lot of movement and education around it. So I'm hopeful.
The fact that you're able to get into people's heads for so long, I'm curious, do you think that Sean Combs was aware of all of this and aware of how badly he treated people and just got off on it? Or you just think he was so narcissistic that it didn't even occur to him to not have empathy for these people? Like, what was he going through?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you have a severe personality disorder such as he does, there's something called its egosyntonic, meaning you're just like, that's who I am,
Hmm.
right? There's a lack of awareness about who you are because you can't reflect.
Right.
So let's hold that to one side. But I do think that he understood uh, the viciousness and the criminality of what he was doing. But you know what? Why would he stop? He was getting away with it, and he was
True.
getting all of his needs met. There was
And
no
I
reason for him to stop.
and do you think that just made him feel more powerful
Yes.
and like he
Well,
could
yeah, right.
do
Because
no,
don't these guys think they're all above the law,
yeah, right.
right? That's that grandiose sense of superiority. I'm
Yeah,
above this. Nobody's going to catch me.
right. And what's so scary about this to me is that he's the one that's caught right now. There are so many people out there that there is no video of them hitting someone, right? So those people have not been able to come forward, but they're living it or they have lived it. And with powerful people that we all know and probably adore, and they're scared to come forward because their credibility will be shot. And that's probably what this guy is telling them. No one will believe you. You're a no one. You're a whore. And it's really sad to think about how many people are really struggling with that. And I know that there are people struggling with that.
There are people struggling with it. And of course, the victims don't come forward too because of shame.
Hmm.
They feel terribly embarrassed for what they've endured. And remember, this pathological person has infiltrated their mind, as you say, and they have mind control over them. And
Yeah,
they've just beaten them down, and they really have no self-trust too.
right.
So it is really scary to come forward.
When do you think that cycle really ends? Like, do you think at the point when Cassie was able to file those papers that she was over it and she had put her foot down and a line in the sand? Or do you think she was still thinking, maybe he'll call me, maybe we'll figure this out? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think for Cassie, what I've read about her is that she had done so much trauma work, and I think she probably healed a lot of the shame and realized that the full coercion and abuse is always the fault of the abuser.
Yeah.
Nobody, no victim wants to be abused, right? They get sucked into this web. And so it sounds like she had, from what I read, she had done a lot of healing
Yeah.
and just felt like this was what she morally and ethically needed to do.
Right, right. So let's just end here by talking about what the public can learn from this trial and the trauma bonding and the psychology behind it instead of just the legalities about it. What do you hope people walk away understanding about the abuse, the trauma, and the psychological manipulation from this case?
I hope people understand that trauma bonds are very complex psychological experiences, right? And that they are caused by a power imbalance. They are caused by intermittent reinforcement. That intermittent reinforcement does create this biochemical addiction. Coercive control is invisible, but it is a real thing, and it does keep people entrapped. And so that more victims and people in general have the terminology to name it
Hmm.
and to, if they are being victimized, to, say something. And I just hope we stop asking the question, why does she stay? And we start answering the question, why does he do that?
Right. That would be amazing.
That would
Um,
be amazing.
what would you say to anyone listening who suspects, excuse me, they might be in a trauma bond themselves?
That if you suspect that you're in a trauma bond, first of all, I'm sorry. But second of all, get educated. There is hope. You can get out. You have to strategically plan it. You cannot tell your perpetrator that you want to leave. You have to hide it from them, and plan your escape and look for the helpers because we're out there.
Tell people about your book and where they can get it too, but break down why. I mean, I know why you wrote it. A lot of people will know
Yeah.
why you wrote it, but explain a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so I wrote my book, Run Like Hell, because I was a therapist and I had experienced the quintessential trauma bond with the Wolf of Wall Street, unbeknownst to me, because nobody was talking about this back then, trauma
Mhm.
bonds and narcissism. And so I got inspired and went back to school to become a therapist. And then all these beautiful, smart, kind women were coming into my office being betrayed, coercively controlled, abused. And I decided to go back to the research and write my book, Run Like Hell, so I could educate and empower victims and know that I say a trauma bond is life altering. It's not a life sentence.
And what's happened since the book came out? Have
Oh
you
my God, so many things. It's been so exciting. You see me, I'm like all over social media,
all over? Yeah.
doing podcasts. And what I did too is I really wanted to democratize my work. It's expensive to see a therapist. So I started an online community called Thriver, where I take my book and I made it into an online course. And I run support groups. I teach the course and I bring in live experts every week to educate women. And it's $30 a month, a
Oh
dollar.
my God, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I will ask because that when I do see your stuff, it's always about what you've gone through in the past and how people can, learn from it. I'm curious, what does Jordan think about all this? Do you know?
Well, what do you think he thinks?
I think he's pissed.
He's pissed. He's pissed. But you know what I said to him? I said, guess what? You wrote a book, you made a movie. I get to make a 3-minute TikTok.
Right. So it's funny because I've thought about it and I'm like, I bet he's really pissed. But if someone really was to ask him, or if he calmed down for a second, he would be like, you know what? I'm proud of you. That's actually great. And he kind of brushes it off and can laugh about it. I don't know if that's how he feels, but you would
Yeah,
you would
I
think that
guess
he
it
would be
depends
proud of
upon
you.
the it depends upon the day. But I mean, I have to walk my talk and I'm not going to be controlled anymore as a woman by anybody.
Right.
Not even my current husband, who I've been with for 26 years. Yesterday was our anniversary of our first blind date.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so he's okay. And, my kids are amazing. That's all they care about. And he's a great dad. And we have a grandson and another baby on the way. So,
Amazing. I love
yeah,
hearing
life is
that.
good.
And I think what it's important, when I was younger, my grandmother, who's no longer with us now, but she gave me the best advice. She said, no man will make you happy. You have to be happy within yourself. And, I'm 50 now and I'm just starting to realize this. And
I know.
since I saw you, I'm now engaged. I don't
Oh,
even
I
think we were,
wanted to ask you about that. I thought so. Yes.
yeah. And I don't even think I was dating him at the time when I met you last year or 2 years ago. And it's interesting because it's so different when you love someone and you're in a different place in your life where it's not really about them. Like I'm good with or without
Yeah.
someone else. And it
Yeah.
was just an addition to my life and made me better. But it's like my happiness wouldn't be affected if he was in it or out of it. You know what I mean? And that
Yes.
was the
Oh,
place
yes.
for me to finally find someone because I feel like I spent so many years, like decades, coming from a place of like either scarcity or desperation of like, oh, I have to get married or I have to be with someone. I can't be alone. And when I finally was like, oh, I'm great alone. Like
Yeah.
somebody's going to bother me if they're with me because I figured this out alone and I'm happy. And now it's just I'm that much happier. And if he goes away for a couple days or if he does his own thing, like we're good. And that is
Yeah.
makes me even happier to know that I just have this person that makes my life even better. So
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
listen, you've worked really hard and you built this podcast, right?
Yeah.
And you did that all on your own. And that's like such a confidence builder. And I think when we face our fears and do like it's hard to do this, right? To show up all the time and be
Yeah.
prepared and you feel good about yourself. And I think the 50s is a magical time for women. I
Yeah.
really do. Nobody talks about that. But yeah,
Right.
we feel confident in ourselves and it's so nice. He's a
But
big
I think it's important that you do the work. And I've learned so much from you and from having you on the show and then also just watching the stuff that you do because I went through a long time in my life where I was a love addict. I mean, my life was based on whether or not I was in love. And
Yeah.
it was I was like almost incapable of being by myself and having any sort of self-worth unless I saw it from someone who loved me. So
Yes.
it was
Yes.
very difficult. And I really would mistake intensity for love. And, it was very hard for me to get out of
Yeah.
that. It took me a very long time. And, I don't think people get that love addiction is a real thing, that love bombing is a real thing. And I know it feels so good, but it ends so bad. And,
It's so bad.
we could talk about that a whole nother
We could
time.
talk about that all day long, but I just want to touch on one thing before we hang up.
Yeah.
Is that as women too, we've been told that we're only whole if we're in a relationship.
Mm,
And as you and I both know, that's just not true. And
right.
then if you have somebody, it's a great addition, but you
Yeah.
don't have to have that for your life to be complete.